Hello everyone, and welcome to my game of World of Warships. Today's replay is from HoppouChan, and I'm terribly sorry for mispronouncing it. Now he is in the Des Moines, a tier 10 US cruiser. He's on the map Warriors Path in a 3-point domination game, and there's only 3 battleships, which is obviously amazing if you are in a cruiser. And yeah, there is no carrier. He's been detected here, and obviously there is a destroyer inside the sea cap. Now the reason he's not radaring yet is because the closer he gets, the more... well, the harder it is for the destroyer to actually escape the radar. Let's put it like this. So basically this gearing is now pretty far inside the radar range, so we'll have to travel a long distance to actually escape it, which gives the friendly team a lot more time to actually farm this gearing before he can get to safety. Then again, the gearing could have just gone and hugged the island here. That would have... well, that might have been a better choice. Now the gearing is trying to deploy a smoke screen, which obviously does nothing. Now the gearing is smart enough to not actually stop here, but I'm not sure why he's deploying a smoke. Now pushing in as far as HoppouChan did is usually very dangerous, because if there was like 3 battleships here, they could have absolutely devastated the Des Moines already. But we only have a tier pits here. The Kurfürst is in the center and the Amagi is here on the left flank. And they only have 3 battleships, so the only battleship that could really devastate him here is a tier pit. Now, not to say that the cruisers can't do a lot of damage to him as well if he shows them broadside, but it's a lot less risky with fewer battleships around. Now the friendlies have lost the A-cap, and there seems to be a duel with this Shimakaze, and I'm not sure what the enemy destroyer here is. They are... well, it was a cross-convoy and they just rammed each other, so okay, that's one way for destroyers to fight, I guess. Now there is still a Chungmu there, who seems like he might be trying to get into A again, but he really needs those friendlies to get closer to have any chance there. And I think A is pretty much done for. The Chungmu should probably just migrate to B and try something over there. Now I'm not sure what the friendly destroyer here is doing. Like, it doesn't look like the booster is close enough to get the radar off, so the Shimakaze should just go into the cap and take it. Meanwhile, HoppouChan is just happily farming these tier pits. Once again, with so few enemy ships here, especially battleships, he can just lazily sail around here, dodge a few shells, and burn himself in tier pits. Well, obviously, I mean, his team is helping with that. Now, it looks like the enemy destroyer returned to the sea cap. The friendly destroyer is too busy being glued to the zone wall to do anything about it. So it might be up to our Des Moines here to stop that. Well, I guess we have the gearing here coming this way, so maybe the gearing will do something. And we have a Roma pushing in for some reason. There you go, that's one roasted tier pit. Now I'm not sure why the Roma is pushing so hard against the destroyer. I mean, I get that he wants to take this cap, but I guess he realized that this wasn't the best choice and he's turning around already. He's still pretty healthy, so he should be able to hopefully disengage here. And what do we have here? We have a Hipper who is here broadside on. Now I think the Hipper has realized that this isn't where he wants to be, so he's trying to reverse. That's a very slow process though. If he had kept going forward and just turned away, would have been in pretty good state. Now also, I mean, I get that he wants to reverse behind this cover, but he should also steer that he's angling while doing so, because let's just face it, staying broadside, not the best choice.
Torpedoes to port. Enemy cruiser foundered.
So it looks like the friendlies are finally taking control of this cap. Of course, there is now an enemy Kurfürst pushing in. We have a friendly Kurfürst here in the backline. Of course we do. The Roma, who has tried this push earlier and is now disengaging. And while there's a lot of friendly ships here, the problem with rolling with a battleship like this is, like, the Kurfürst can basically just wreck the Des Moines through the bow. So this is getting tricky. Of course, I mean, the Kurfürst could also just, like, miss his shots. That works too. And a Des Moines is pretty scary if he can abuse your broadside.
The ship is on fire. Enemy
So that's a cool first dealt with. Unfortunately though, HoppouChan is getting pretty low here. So he's up to 4 kills. Pretty nice, pretty nice. And it looks like they're finally getting control of this cap. Now the gearing's in here to help with the capping. The Shimakaze is finally detaching itself from the zone wall. And well, the friendlies basically lost the other out of the map completely to the enemy team. I mean, there is a Henry there, but this Henry is probably just trying to undetectedly sneak away. Because if he gets spotted there, he'll be under a lot of fire. So that's C cap taken. Now the Chapayev and the Rooster, smart move for them is to just sail away until they can reach the reinforcements, but it looks like the Chapayev has been spotted. A bit too aggressive retreat for the Chapayev. He should have probably stayed further north and just tried to get out of here at this point. Now unfortunately, now the Rooster is also opening up, and that hurt. So this island is a bit tiny. Heal is ready again, so he can heal now, at which it would be a... yeah, there's the heal. So that might help, but still our Des Moines is getting pretty low on health. Ooh, a nice hit there on the Chapayev. So he's somewhat in cover of the Rooster, especially since the Rooster is disengaging here. That just leaves the Chapayev as a main threat. But there is so many friendlies that you'd think this Chapayev goes down rather quickly. And there you go, that's a Kraken unleashed. So the friendlies are doing pretty okay ship-wise, but cap-wise not so much. So they really need like the B cap now, probably. I mean, the enemy team's lead isn't too bad, but if it remains that way, they'll just run away with points. And that might end in disaster. Now, there is a Rooster pushing this way, I'm not sure why. Like, what the enemy team now wants to do is play this safe, play it defensive, and not just have a Rooster charge in on her own. You know, the Rooster's already realized that he wants to disengage here, and he is still pretty healthy. Now there is also a gearing sneaking up from behind. I think we saw a smoke screen there earlier, so that's something to be aware of. I mean, if the gearing uses long-range torps, he could easily torpedo into this blob of friendlies here. Now we have a gearing chasing the Rooster, it looks like. On the bright side, this means the Rooster remains spotted. On the less bright side, if the Rooster manages to radar the gearing, that gearing might be in a world of hurt. Also in a world of hurt seems to be the friendly Homer currently, who is probably getting barbecued by a Rooster. And look at that, there is a second Rooster popping up, but... okay, that's one enemy dealt with. Homer goes down too though. So... still, the friendlies need a B cap. We don't know where the enemy reinforcements are yet, we haven't spotted them for a while. But they should be in B or around B somewhere. And yeah, there is a smoke screen over there, that's probably the gearing. And it looks like the Henry is charging this gearing. So I assume this gearing was playing around with the Henry instead of torping this little ball here. And look at that. So our Des Moines was detected, found himself a gearing here. And that's a nice looking gearing. Makes me regret not getting the space camera for the gearing when it was available. But who knows, maybe they will bring it back at some point. Now this gearing is a potential problem. Well, so are those torps. I'm not sure why the Shimakaze is not... I mean, the Shimakaze wants to smoke the Des Moines here, which is pretty nice of the Shimakaze. But there is just this... well, I guess there is a Rooster and a Sow to shoot. So yeah, I guess he could just stop here and farm this Sao. And that's what he is currently contemplating doing. Now the problem with the gearing is, right, if the friendlies just push B now, then the gearing comes in from behind and takes C. And points is really where the biggest threat is coming from. Like, if the enemy team just manages to hold on to B a little bit longer and survive, especially survive, then the enemy team might just manage to reach 1,000 points. If they can sneak into C and take it, then oh, look at that, there's more dwarves coming. So anyway, our Des Moines here has graciously accepted that smoke screen, and targets were spotted basically at the right time that he can make use of that. And there's a high caliber. Now looks like the rooster didn't want to sail into those broadside shots and is actually taking evasive action. And the enemy team is basically just retreating there. Now I would have loved for maybe the Kurfürst to go through B when he engages the enemy. It's unlikely that he can cap, but if they have a ship in B, at least they are stopping the bleed a little bit when it comes to cap points. So enemy Worcester goes down. And, well, friendly Moskva as well. So this is still anyone's game, and while the friendlies have one more ship, like, the point situation is not very nice. Now we soon have a radar again. He's detected, so he knows the gearing is here, and yes, the gearing is most likely trying to sneak into the sea cap. So we've radar almost ready, and then we will find out where exactly he is. And oh, look at that, he's almost snuck. Now that gearing was pretty much caught between a rock and a hard place, I suppose he can't get further away than the zone wall. And he was aware that he was in the radar range of a Des Moines, and he was probably just hoping that he'd make it past here. So I think that Gearing's plan was exactly that, like probably sneak up in a position where they don't suspect him and then come back in from behind and take the cap and win by points. So unfortunately for him, that did not work out. Now the friendlies are taking B, which is nice, and this Kurfürst is continuing her push. He's a little bit out of support, feels like. But we will see. So at this point we can increase the speed a little bit because our Des Moines is outside of the gun range. Well, soon he'll be inside gun range, I suppose. So he's trying to get a few shots in here at this Sao as well. And he even got a nice fire. So the enemy team is down to 2 ships, but they are still in the lead points wise. But it's 5 minutes left to play, and the friendlies now have the cap advantage. So I think points alone will not be enough for the enemy team to win. They might have to sink something or retake a point. Now it's been a while since we saw this Kitakaze, so no idea where the Kitakaze is. Sao just torpedo the gearing. Well, I mean, that's certainly helping the enemy team. Now, if the Sao can sink something else while he is pushing in here, then, well, okay, that Sao is probably not sinking anything. And that's one less Sao. Now, the Sao could still have torps in the water, mind you. Sao has pretty long-range torps. I mean, we know he torpedoed the gearing, but he has torps on both sides. If there were, I don't know, torps going for the Kurfürst or something, that could do it. Then there is still the Kitakaze, and well, I presume the Kitakaze is going to torp this Kurfürst. And the Kurfürst is going for the A cap here, which is probably the right choice, just deny the enemy more points, and if the friendlies manage to cap the whole map, then they should have this. Like, it's still 4 minutes left. And oh, there is the Kitakaze. Considering that Kitakaze, I don't know, did the Henry get close enough or did the Kitakaze just open fire? Now, oh, that Kitakaze just got wrecked. I wonder what hit him. Was this a salvo from the Henry? Or a salvo from the Kurfürst? Or maybe both? Well, anyway, it's a win. And here we are with the results. That's 3,135 base experience for HoppouChan. So very well done by him. He earned himself a Confederate, a Kraken, and a high caliber, and he managed to sink 7 ships, 177,000 points of damage. And yeah, I feel it's safe to say that he carried this one. So I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I'll see you guys next time.